Crypto kids, welcome back to another video. The price of Bitcoin is finally above $71,000 back again, and I'm here with Mr. M to discuss the latest technical analysis. Of course, Mr. M's TA is world famous, so
everyone knows at this point.
I wanted to get his takes on what he believes will happen to Bitcoin. If you enjoy these type of technical analysis updates, make sure to destroy the like button, subscribe to become a crypto kid. And with that said, let's jump straight into the technical analysis, and then I'll get what Mr. M's take is also on what is currently happening. Because Mr. M, we've been talking about these charts for so long on the Moon Show. In fact, yesterday we mentioned that there was a double bottom pattern forming, and that the target would be 70.7K. The bull flag is broken out with a confirmation on 2 candles now. The last one was a perfect retest of the prior resistance of the bull flag. I think that is an incredible sign. Now we're also testing the upper Bollinger Band here too. And if we're able to break out, which Bitcoin is trying to do at the moment as we're approaching $72,000.
Incredible.
When we have a confirmed weekly candle breakout, that is historically, apart from this anomaly here, you tend to see multiple candles going into a massive rally and going into the final most profitable zone of the bull market. The third one is that the price of Bitcoin is also breaking above the descending broadening channel, which is the more conservative pattern compared to the Bitcoin bull flag. Another signal that's flashing, and that's the Bitcoin MACD bullish crossover on the weekly time frame. And you can see the last time we had a weekly crossover was back in October of last year. And this catapulted the price of Bitcoin from $30,000 all the way to $74,000, which was a 144% run all the way to the all-time high. And now we're seeing the same signal again. Do you think, Mr. M, that the same 144% gain will take us up to like $160,000? Do you think that's going to happen?
I mean, it depends on what hat I have on, right? If I have my bullish hat on, yes. But I don't think it matters the target per se. We're going higher, I think. And if history repeats, if not, it's going to rhyme. I think it's going to take us to a really interesting spot. We've been waiting for 7 months. Consolidation, like me, you, every day on the Moon Show.
The longest consolidation in Bitcoin history ever, by the way.
So we deserve a pump. Now, how high the pump is going to go, I think it's conservative to say we're going to be over $150,000, right? But it's all depends on. There is so many factors. We have so many patterns like inverse head and shoulders. We have cup and handles. We have so many different patterns like you mentioned so well. And we have the election coming in November. So
which is in like 5 days now. Unbelievable.
Crazy.
Do you think if Trump wins, it's going to push Bitcoin higher, or do you think it matters at all which president is elected?
It depends on the time frame. So if your time frame is 3 months or 5 weeks or even 10 days for what it matters, it will have an impact, because when or if Kamala and or Trump are going to take the crown to be the president, it will impact the price. But in 5 years, Bitcoin wouldn't care.
It doesn't really matter who wins the election. It's just Bitcoin seasonality. When we come to this stage of the Bitcoin cycle, Bitcoin tends to go a lot higher. This time around, you can see there's been a massive consolidation pattern, unlike the previous cycles where Bitcoin just tends to go up right after we cross the top of the previous cycle. Unfortunately, Bitcoin hit a new all-time high for the first time right before the halving event happened. And I think this was a huge punishment for us, this consolidation pattern. And now we're at the same sort of line where Bitcoin just takes off in terms of halving seasonality. Do you think that the price of Bitcoin, Mr. M, can have just a few months of pushing towards higher levels, and then in April or September we have the all-time high, or do you think it's going to elongate to 2026? What's your prediction for when we're going to top out?
Fantastic questions. I would say something that not many people are talking about. One, I would say the reason why we consolidated for so long is because of the ETF. So the ETF have exchanged hands from Grayscale to BlackRock. That's why we've seen a flat movement, I think, of the price. Because if there was no Grayscale selling, we would have gone up incredibly high, I believe. So I think this is finished, as you can see into the ETF price table, which we speak a lot on the Moon Show. Now we are positive for the first time ever, billions over, I think 2 billions now, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a super bullish metric.
Incredible inflow, by the way, yesterday.
Exactly, super amazing. Look at that, 22. So we got 2 billion over the price, right? So which means there is more pressure in buying than in selling. So these, let's say 7 months of consolidation, technically they should finish. When it comes to a date for the bull market, I usually look into 3 things. You have October, best performing month. You have then February and April, or maybe April and February. I'm not sure about these two, but they are neck to neck, which means they could be the perfect time for us topping out. So it's not going to be this October, I don't think. It could be February, but I think April, or maybe next October.
I actually love this prediction from Peter Brandt from Twitter. He put the Bitcoin logarithmic regression kind of line at the top resistances of the prior all-time highs, and then you get a target of anywhere between 150 to $160,000.
Nice.
And in my opinion, that's actually perfect because it perfectly coincides with the target of the inverse head and shoulders. I think it's a little bit lower, but these two patterns have somewhere in the 140K zone. Once you do a Fibonacci extension, you also get like 120, 130. So while we cannot predict the exact price of Bitcoin at the next or this bull market cycle top, I would say anywhere from 120 to $160,000 is very much possible. Let's just not make the mistake of being too greedy and not waiting it out for Bitcoin to go to 300K or $1 million, right? So this was the mistake that happened last time. I think when Bitcoin is at 160K, everybody's going to be calling for 500 and $1 million. I don't think that will take place in this cycle. I could be wrong, but it just would be super difficult to reach that sort of market capitalization without actual Bitcoin adoption as currency. So at 160K, I'm probably going to be selling a lot. I don't know what you're going to be doing with your portfolio, but I think at 160, I'm going to be selling everything almost.
I think having multiple buckets to control the price would be a good idea. So, for example, you can have price, you can have time, you can have like fear and greed emotions from, I remember back in the days when views on YouTube, for example, were going over the moon, Google searches, you have your time, you have your price. If you have a bucket of indicators, it's probably easier for you to be more kind of on the par. And for when it comes to my portfolio, I have a 4-bag strategy, which I always talk about, which is bag number 1, never sell to the moon. And when I will pass away, will be my contribution to Satoshis. I will never sell. So that's my way to give back to the chain. Because what happens is
I love that.
If someone holds it, then it becomes more scarce. So that's my contribution to Satoshis. Number 2 bag will be my, let's say, 4-year cycle allowance, which means I know exactly how much my rent is, I know exactly how much expenses. So this is my, let's say, my cost for the next 4 years. Number 3 bag will be the play the market bag, which means I'm going to use some to sell some Bitcoin strategically on the way up. And I'm not going to wait, like CryptoKid said so well, 150K. I'll start probably at 85 or 90.
No way, that's
to sell
soon.
super small percentage, like 1%, 2%.
I think Ren is selling 1% every single week at the moment.
That's one way to do it.
That's one
way to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's really clever. As long as you have a plan, then you can pivot. And the number 4 bag is the filthy meme coin, degen, altcoins bag.
Which could see a huge pump very soon. So we're going to get to the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is hitting 60% for the first time.
Benjamin Cowan, massive shout out.
I think Benjamin Cowan is very happy right now. So we'll talk about the dominance in a second, but I wanted to touch on what you mentioned about the Google search trends, which is exactly at the point where we were right before Bitcoin took off into, I think it was from $15,000 to $64,000 in 2020. And I can't even believe this because the price of Bitcoin is sitting at $71,000 and nobody seems to care. This is a massive factor that justifies why Bitcoin is currently not at a top. We don't have the pi cycle top indicator flashing. This is merely a continuation pattern. And once we have the confirmation with volume, which is currently not too persistent, I think Bitcoin is going to smash to $100,000 much sooner than everybody thinks. And in the end, we'll be crowned geniuses and we'll become very famous in society. But remember, when that happens, when the Google search trends go to the moon, that is a time to be cautious and probably it's a time to start taking some profits off of the table. And the final topic of this video is, of course, the Bitcoin dominance reaching 60% almost. I mean, altcoins are bleeding against Bitcoin, even against USDT. You're seeing a lot of altcoins, apart from Solana, absolutely bleeding. When do you think will be a good time, Mr. M, to switch some of our Bitcoin into the altcoin degen 100x positions?
It's a good question. I like to call it the Christmas tree moment. So when Bitcoin goes up, then it creates momentum and people want to invest into Bitcoin. But at some point, some people are going to take profit into stable coins or maybe into altcoins. It's like a tree, right? You have the star on top of the tree, which is Bitcoin, and then it comes down in other altcoins and other segments. So I think until Bitcoin goes a little bit further and the Bitcoin dominance goes down a little bit or chills a little bit, we will see then altcoin season coming in. And many projects like, of course, I don't know if you agree, but the sentiment to me lately is that everyone is selling Ethereum for Solana. There is some of the cool, let's say the old school coins, I think are going to do really well. To name a few, Ethereum, for example, I think it's going to pump. Solana is going to do really well.
I think XRP could do very well as well.
XRP is going to do really well.
The
the
debate.
debate with Da Vinci. There is going to be a bunch of projects they're going to pump back. We just need to wait until Bitcoin cools off a little bit.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Mr. M, thank you so much for coming on the channel. I'm going to put a link to all of his social media in the description down below. Make sure to check him out if you're in the car, if you're going to the gym. I think some of his podcasts are absolutely fantastic. So make sure to subscribe and check him out. He just hit 10,000 subscribers, by the way. So massive congrats to you, bro. But guys, with that said, thank you so much for watching. Have an absolutely fantastic day. And make sure to tune into the Moon Show at 5 p.m. GST today to find out the latest updates in the Newswise, because that's where we cover the news. So thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. And I'll see you guys very soon on the Moon Show. Take care. And
cheers.
Bye-bye.